Today with us we have Reverend Linda Rapond, who is an amazing soul. I'm trying to figure out when we first met, but then I realized I've got many lifetimes that I've got to revisit. Who has time for that? We've always known each other, more recently in this lifetime. When she was serving as our Centers for Spiritual Living youth minister, so she oversaw all of our youth programs for all of our ministry. Those of you who know me know that I found my way to ministry through our youth program, and so that always has a very special place in my heart. A number of years ago, as she was listening to Spirit, she was guided into the next phase of her ministry, which is called the Launching Pad, and she was called to Berkeley, California, where she began a group. That group has now evolved into the next logical step, which would be St. George, Utah, Because when you think in Berkeley, then your next logical step is St. George, right? So, and these young folks are a part of that community, and it's a very beautiful and wonderful thing. So please welcome my friend, Reverend Linda Rapond.
He's pretty awesome. You're very fortunate. I also want to thank you, because you may not know that you're already in partnership with the Launching Pad. Because many of you tithe to this church. What you may or may not know is that this church also tithes from your tithes. And one of the places that you've tithed is to the Launching Pad to help us get started in St. George, Utah. So we're already partners. You're already in my family. So thank you. Thank you. So I want to just say a little bit about what that is and just kind of share my heart with you a little. That we are the only dedicated young adult church in Centers for Spiritual Living, which means that our population's younger. We do everything you do. We have classes, we have service. Our services are on Friday night, which leaves them free to come to church on Sunday, if they do. But we're Friday night, and we have a lot of social events, an inordinate number of social events. However, seeing your lobby, you've got quite a bit of that kind of stuff happening here too. So what's happened is that there's a magnetizing thing that's happened in Berkeley of bringing together conscious young people, not all from science, many from Science of Mind, because there really has been a draw to have a touchstone, but many from other traditions or no traditions who are looking for their tribe. They're looking for spiritual community and a place to just be seen, be loved, be held, very much like what happens here. But it's happening for young people. And guess what? What we teach in this center resonates in a really powerful way with them. We're all one, just like that song. We honor and respect the planet. We see beyond the boundaries of geographic borders and, races and colors and gender, everything. We see oneness. And young people are going, hey, there's a religion like that? Who knew? So what happened is about a year ago, we got called into St. George. Now, you're right. I'm kind of one of those people who likes to plan things. Like Berkeley seemed like a perfect place to do a young adult ministry. It's the most young adult town I know of in America. I would have gone to Amsterdam. I actually thought that was where I was going to go when I started, but it's kind of the Amsterdam of America, if you think of Berkeley. It fit. But where from that? I didn't actually have a where from that. And a young man came to us wanting to start a launching pad in St. George, Utah. And I had to look on a map. Okay. But he came to us about a year ago with a video that he had created with some of the young people in St. George. And they were making a video for our community in Berkeley to say why we need a launching pad, why we need people to come help us do this. And so we showed it in our community, and a little 5-minute video, unrehearsed, iPhone kind of video. And I look around and there's not a dry eye in the house. Like everybody in Berkeley got it. Because what those kids were saying was, there is no place else for us here. In this community, if we don't fit the mold that's present in the community, we got nothing. Now that's not true in Berkeley. There's a different spiritual path on every block in Berkeley. But really what they were saying in St. George is we have no way to connect with our tribe, and we need help and we need support. And I looked around, and this one right here, tears streaming down his face. He goes, I have to go there. I have to go do that. So the combination very quickly resulted in us starting a community. This weekend, I was actually scheduled months ago to come because this is the 1-year anniversary of opening that launching pad in St. George. And by the way, we're starting 2 more this summer. Spooky will be the spiritual director of the launching pad in Long Beach, California, which will be a sobriety house launching pad. Very needed, yes. Huge, huge, huge gift. And then we're also starting one in Ashland, Oregon at the end of the summer. So it's popping. Don't ask me how. I don't even get how, but it is showing up. And so this community, St. George, Utah, that called us in, has been an incredible teacher to me in the way they created community. And they've always got a Facebook page, and they're like on the Facebook page days before the Friday night service, planning who's cooking what for the potluck beforehand. I mean, it's clearly like the most important thing happening for them in their community. And that's pretty wow. It's pretty wow in Berkeley. It's pretty wow in St. George. What happened is, as I'm planning to come over, Spooky was going to help me drive over from Berkeley, is a week ago, one of the young men who's very central to that community died suddenly. And threw a bunch of people into a cycle of grief that was huge. For some of them, it was their first loss. For some of them, maybe they've lost their great uncle or their grandma or somebody that's old and is supposed to die. But when it's your peer, it's a way that brings your mortality like right in front of your eyes. And what young person hasn't done risky behaviors that could end them up dead? And so grief just happened. So what was supposed to be our celebration service really turned into a memoriam service. And I think for the first time, I understood why we're in St. George. I get it now. Because what happened was, I guess there was a celebration that happened in the grieving, because a year ago there would have been no place to go with that. There would have been no container to support them. And it was so powerful that even though this young man's family had been Mormon, his mom asked Elisha to come lead the service. So not only did we do that on Friday, but yesterday we did this memorial service. And I'm pretty sure every person in St. George that has a tattoo was there. Pretty sure that's how the test at the door was. Oh, tattoo, show it to me. Okay, you can come in. It was an outpouring of young people because Devin had grown up there. He'd gone to high school there. He knew kids, and it was the crowd of kids that didn't fit in any other traditional thing that was happening in town, and they were in pain. And what happened was our little community of Launching Pad became a container that just held all of that for this very traditional Mormon family, for our other young people, for kids who've never darkened the door of a church and probably won't. That we got to be the container of love that allowed them to feel, to grieve. And grieving needs to happen in community. Alone, it's really hard, but when there are people who can circle you up and love you, you can feel it and you can let it go. And all of a sudden, I get it. Like, we're supposed to be there. In fact, I'm kind of getting, we're supposed to be in a lot of places. Because there is a wave moving forward in the world. Like when we all talked about the paradigm was going to shift in 2012 and, the end of an era. It happened. Folks, it happened. There is a new era that has already been born. And there's some young people, many of whom were born into this tradition, who knew that they came forward to be the people to carry us into the next yet to be. Our job is really to support them in being that and allowing them to have community and support in being that. They already know how. They already embrace who they are and that they are divine beings of light and they came here to be light bearers. And I'm so blessed that there's a community right here in your state that is teaching me how that works. So thank you.
So you see why I love her so much. Yes. So much to say, so few days to say it. No, we've got things to do. Yes, be here now. Thank you. The power of now. So I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be together, and this idea of spiritual community is so powerful. What I'm witnessing as I'm been engaged in this idea for some time, I remember the first conversation I remember having with you about this gem that Spirit was guiding her to, that made no sense. The way was not clear. She had a really good job and a husband who was unemployed at that moment. And God saying, oh, just move to Berkeley. Start a new ministry, which is so lucrative anyways, right? And she said yes. And this is the thing that I would have us know. In living in the now, Spirit, we can listen to what is present, what we are being called to do. We've been looking at this idea of the power of now, about not getting trapped in future possibility or not getting stuck in past events, but to keep bringing our awareness and our attention into this moment to see what is real for us now. Because it is in those moments that we have the insight and the awareness and the clarity of the divine that then says, this is your next step. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you've made a plan and God directed you in a completely different direction. I've done it over and over. I finally just went, okay, here's the plan. Let's just tear that up and let's get on with whatever we're called to do next. But I was so touched as I've watched and witnessed. I was in St. George 6 months ago, I guess, when they had their installation. And here's these, St. George, you think retirement community, lovely. And here's all these youngsters running around and being all veganish and having tattoos and, it's very hip and happening. And so I was like, who knew? And then to watch this community come together around the death of a friend and to know that initiation when we get to face our mortality. And particularly, I remember my journey towards ministry started at 23, when my best friend died suddenly, and I needed to find another way to deal with that. And so I engaged in spiritual community and just keep following my next step. And so a few years ago, Spirit said to me, or somebody called and said, can you come down and help us? And again, it made all the sense in the world because they were offering a huge salary. And they were without a minister, without a place to have a place. And they were losing a ton of money. And it was like, sure, why wouldn't I do that? Perfect. So Linda said earlier at the earlier service, we do a lot of things that don't make any sense. But when we're on this spiritual path, we learn to recognize the difference between our ego voice and the Spirit voice. And Spirit sometimes will call us to make decisions that don't make sense at a logical or a practical way. But if we are willing to put our faith in the divine and follow those divine promptings, then it begins to make sense later on. It's as if Spirit says to us, take this step, and I'll explain it to you later, right? Take this step and just shut up is what, is how I interpret it. So I was sharing that this has been a really challenging week for this community. It's been a difficult week for me personally. I awoke Thursday morning and checking email, I got an email about a dear friend of mine, Lori Wertek, who committed suicide. Now, Lori is about the last person that I would ever have expected this from. Very vibrant, very vivacious, yoga instructor, just a bright and brilliant soul. And so my heart just sunk, and I was just in grief, plunged into grief, sad. All of the stuff that happens for us when we lose someone that way started. What could I have done? What should I have done? What would I, all of that stuff started coming up. And then I just kept practicing the power of now because I thought you preaching it wouldn't hurt to practice. and just let my heart be broken and let myself experience that. Shortly thereafter, I got a message from a young man who was her closest friend, who was calling to tell me and said that one of the things that Lori asked in her goodbye note was, would I come and officiate the service? So I said, of course. There's really no other answer. And so as we talked through that, I said, I'm just heartbroken. I am honored, and I'm pissed. So, that feels like kind of the totality of being human at the moment, right? How dare you? Why would you? I love you. Because I did love this woman, and I know she loved me. And so my conversation started with, why me? And then my conversation with myself evolved to, why me? What was it that Lori was wanting you to say? And so I've been really with that question, and I'm not sure the answer to that, other than what I have been talking about for 5 years here is, this is a community that is big enough to handle all of it. And so for Linda and I think when we came into the teaching, it was all about manifesting your good, telling God what you wanted and making sure God performed appropriately, about having lots of money and being fit and all this whole thing. It was all about stuff that you could manifest. And the evolution that I see has happened is that we really just get, one of the other reasons I love Linda, she is a student of Jean Houston, who teaches us about the hero's journey, and you've heard me talk about this, but that we get that being in spiritual community is not about having it perfect. It is about who will you become as life is going on. And beginning to see that we don't get to control all the conditions of our lives, but we do get the power to decide who we will show up in, whatever's going on. And so each Sunday you hear me say, we celebrate all of the seasons of our lives. And how grateful I am to be in spiritual community where we can come together when we like to celebrate, and we like to celebrate, and we can come together when times are hard and life is rough. And it's not about right or wrong or good or bad, it's about who are you being called to be. So as I've been reflecting on this wonderful woman and the blessing she has been in my life, and I think I mentioned that I'm slow to the party, but I'm at the party, called Facebook. That's why I always know when something's about to go out of fashion, because I finally got one. But but I've been watching and witnessing this community that comes together around. Well, I've been part of this thing that's going on with your group around Lori and her passing, and how that whole group of people that were all friends, she's a young woman, are coming together, and they've posted this beautiful video that her and a friend had put together. And they were having a bad day. And so out of their bad day, they decided they would go and they would perform random acts of kindness. So they videoed this, as everybody does these days, and they edited it. So it's this really fun thing of shows them making these little cards that say, "Pow, you've had a random act of kindness," and they put the cards together, and then they went and got flowers, and then they found stealthily people that they could stick them in their mailbox or run up to the door, knock on the door, and leave these notes with flowers and run off. And it's this whole escapade of joy and fun and wonder, because out of that sadness or whatever was going on that day, they made a conscious decision to go be of service to other people, to go give themselves away freely and joyously. And so it's this wonderful and fun video of just people transcending their experience to be of service. And guess what happens? They experience joy and love and wonder. So I was so deeply touched to watch this and just kind of staying in this question, reminded that it is the fullness of life that is the magnificence. There is one life. That life is beautiful. And even in its pain and its sorrow, the beauty is there. I'm watching as this community that didn't exist year and a half ago came together and became a presence in the world around a very sad moment. I'm watching as other communities are coming together. I'm watching as our community comes together to be in this place of knowing together, sensing that we are part of something greater. I'm excited. I'm holding the vision for that because for a launching pad to happen in Salt Lake. Because what I've noticed over the years, and Linda and I have had many conversations, is we're pretty good up until they're about 16 and they get a license. And then they have choices. And they go make other choices. And we don't see them until about 30 when they've had kids and now they've got to figure out something to do with their kids. So there's this gap called young adults. And how powerful that is that they meet on Friday nights and they've built a community that works for them. I love this song that Elijah and Spooky sing because it is Ernest Holmes. It is his words delivered in a message and in a way that makes sense for today. And I keep saying to those that will listen and to a few that don't listen, it is time for this message to be delivered in a way that makes sense for the world today. That is our challenge. That is our challenge as a spiritual community. It is our challenge as a larger organization, is that we can't keep teaching from a book that was written in 1927. I mean, it's good to have it. We still teach from the Bible. That's been around for a while. But, there's got to be some new language. There's got to be a new way of presenting that. That's part of my own personal calling, is to move this message forward. Because what I know, as Linda said so beautifully, is the paradigm shift is not about to happen. It happened. It has already happened. And we need to be a part of that and in front of it. Or we'll sit there going, well, we knew it first. The wave went right by, but we had a surfboard first, right? Missed the wave, but we had the surfboard, right? So there's an opportunity here. As I've been reflecting on my friend, I do feel deeply honored. I'm deeply saddened and deeply honored to be of service to something and to that community. I don't understand it. Turns out, don't need to. But what I do know and what I have figured out is that there is an opportunity every time there is heartache in our life, that if we can, rather than avoid it, rather than deny it, rather than move into the past of how it should have been or the future of how I hope it will be, but to be present with it, there's an opening to the divine that gives us peace and gives us clarity and gives us wisdom. There's a poem, it's so funny, I pulled this out. I've been wanting to do this for some time and it just never felt right. And then I knew it was today. And so there's a poem that I came across called the Ode to Solomon. And the Ode to Solomon is translated by Stephen Mitchell. If you're familiar with Stephen Mitchell, he's brilliant and wonderful. He takes sacred writings and translates them to bring forth the essence so they make sense for us today. What we know about the Ode of Solomon is that it is a collection in Syriac that was discovered in 1909. It is unclear whether it is Jewish in origin, Jewish Christian, remember Jewish Christians early on were hybrid, or whether it's Gnostic, but nonetheless it is truth. And so I'd like to share this poem with you and then go into prayer from that place, because I think it speaks to something powerful about what happens when our heart is open. So I invite you, if it's comfortable, to simply just close your eyes and allow me to speak these words of truth, and we'll go into prayer. The Ode of Solomon. My heart was split, and a flower appeared, and grace sprang up, and it bore the fruit for my God. You split me, tore my heart open, filled me with love. You poured your spirit into me. I knew you as I know myself. Speaking waters touched me from your fountain, the very source of life. I swallowed them and was drunk with the water that never dies. And my drunkenness was insight, intimacy with your split. You have made all things new. You have showed me all things shining. You have granted me perfect ease. I have become like paradise, a garden whose fruit is joy, and you are the sun upon me. My eyes are radiant with your spirit. My nostrils fill with your fragrance. My ears delight in your music, and my face is covered with your dew. Blessed are the men and women who are planted on your earth, in your garden, who grow as your trees and flowers grow, who transform their darkness into light. Their roots plunge into darkness, their faces turn towards the light. All those who love you are beautiful. They overflow with your presence so that you can do nothing but good. There is infinite space in your garden. All men, all women are welcome here. All they need to do is to enter. And so let us enter into that sacred space together now. As we recognize that indeed there is one life. That life is my life. That life is your life. That life is beautiful and pure and wonderful. So we open our hearts in this moment to the presence of unconditional love. We open our minds to divine wisdom. We open the very portal of our soul to that which is transcendent, that which is peace, love, joy, harmony, and beauty. As we breathe into this moment, it is in the recognition that their spirit is everywhere present and always available. That even the breath we breathe is spirit. Even that which breathes us is spirit. And so we are immersed in this divine presence, and we allow ourselves to remember the truth of who we are. That we are each spiritual beings, each having a human experience of that divinity. And so I'm just so grateful in this moment to recognize the spiritual truth and reality for each of us gathered here. As I recognize and know that we are created in the image of wholeness, and that wholeness reveals itself as health, as well-being, as vitality. I know that we are each the extension of love into its self-expression. That love is the very essence of who we are. And so as we move into that transcendent state of absolute unconditional love, we find it easy to forgive. We find it easy to release. We find it easy to let go, for in this power of now, there is only the presence of unconditional love. And we are healed and transformed by its presence. I speak the word of truth as I know that right here, right now, we are abundant beings. For we are one with that which is the source and the substance of all that is. We enter into those powerful words of the Master when he said, "Seek you first this spiritual dimension, this kingdom, and all else shall be added unto you." When we know our true identity, we live from a state of awareness, of powerful being, allowing Spirit to be made welcome in our lives. And so I invite you in this moment, if there is a burden on your heart this day, that we simply be willing to release it, to let it go, to allow that greater possibility emerge through your pain and your triumph, that we are deeply rooted in the divine, shining our face towards God, allowing all things to be made new and to be made whole and to be made perfect. This is the truth that I know. This is the truth that I accept. And so I recognize that we are blessed beings right here and right now. We give thanks for the many blessings of our lives. And we extend a blessing. We extend a blessing to this spiritual community. The Center for Spiritual Living. We extend a blessing to the launching pad, knowing that both go about their perfect work in the world to bring forth greater awareness, greater peace, greater joy, greater harmony. We extend a blessing to our brothers and sisters around the planet this day. We are knowing a high vision for a world that works for everyone. We're holding a high vision for a planet at peace. We're holding that greater possibility that all people, all creatures, are nurtured in the divine. And as always, we bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith. For we know there are many pathways to the divine, and we honor and celebrate them all. How good it is to bear witness to this spiritual truth and reality. As we open our hearts, we give thanks not only for this inner realization, but for its perfect demonstration. We give thanks for a law of mind operating upon the consciousness that is established here, bringing forth the highest good for all. And so it is with profound joy and great gratitude that I simply give thanks that this is so. And I release this word knowing that it is done in perfect timing and in divine right order. How grateful I am as together we say, and so it is.